you were the winemaker at Screaming Eagle, which was
Yes.
obviously, one of the most famous Napa wines anywhere.
Yeah.
How did you end up at Screaming Eagle, and what was that experience like?
Yeah, that comes up a lot. People really know me from that experience. I was working for Dalla Valle at the time, and Screaming Eagle didn't exist then. It was just a vineyard. It was a tiny little cellar. It was a real estate agent and her partner at the time kind of playing home wine at their little cellar. And she had sold Gustav Dalla Valle his property as a real estate agent. And I'd been making wine for Gustav Dalla Valle for a few years. And he said, go down and see if you can help them out, get them going. So I started working there in 1992. And right out of the chute, the first wine got first 99 plus from Parker, and then he later rescinded and said, I should have given it the 3-digit score, as he called it. And I love that. But right away, people were just, what is this wine? How do we not know about this? And it first started winning a lot of local tastings, kind of a word of mouth, wildfire approach, just, oh my gosh, you got to try this, friends to friends, passing it on. And the owner, too, having professional wine all of a sudden, was super enthusiastic about it. Went around giving half of the first vintage away. That's how it is in the business. You get excited. I made my wheat. Look what we made. You got to try this. And that enthusiasm was a lot of fun to be around. Now we had people's attention, so you had to be able to do it the next year, and the next year, and the next year. And that's where the challenge is great, and also where I really got to step up to the plate and make that happen there for 14 years. So it was really fun to be part of that, quite a wave to ride, but to take something that didn't exist and create something like that was really a lot of fun.
And were you surprised at the success? Because it was really like a rocket ship, wasn't it? I mean,
yeah, it launched,
yeah.
But the same year I also had a second 100-point wine for Dalla Valle. I had two back to back, and I remember when I was working on those two blends of the 92 vintage, I remember telling my husband, Bo, I can't decide which one I like better. They're both really, really good. I love both of these wines. And sure enough, they both did, scored really highly. So it was kind of the beginning of this golden era of the kind of cult wines. When that really, brought on a lot of excitement for the business, it was great for the industry. It really created a big buzz. People got fired up about it. The wines were in small production. Scarcity definitely played a role. And then they started going for huge prices at auctions, which just fans the flames of all of that. So, yeah.
Were you surprised about the prices that the wines were going for?
Well, they didn't. If you think back, they weren't going for those prices early on. That kind of came later. At first, that wine, the release price on that wine was $75.
Wow.
So that would have been released in 1995, which at that time was a really high price for wine. You look at all the prices, if you go back, nobody was charging that then. Nobody had crossed the $100 mark at that time. Even Dalla Valle was in that same range, and they really deliberated over what to charge for that wine. Later, then the black market or gray market, whatever, took over, and she would sell the wine for whatever, a couple $100. When I left the winery 14 years later, it was still selling for $300, but commonly on the black market for $1,000 or more a bottle. So people would buy it, turn right around and sell it and make a profit. Or they would buy a 3-pack, drink one, sell two, and they could afford to buy it the next year. So there was a lot of that kind of commodity-like brokerage going on with the wine. The new owners then just raised the price and kind of closed that gap, so that isn't as possible anymore. And the style has changed over time now. But in the early days, that was a bold move to come out at $75. That was a high price at that time.